Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time we're talking episode 1 of season 4 of Legend of Korra called After All These Years. And it really is pretty unbelievable that we're on season 4, but then again, season 3 wrapped up just a couple of weeks ago. But, don't complain about good things, right? So anyway, getting into this episode, they're doing a 3-year time skip with this season, and when I first heard about it, I was really surprised. But in thinking about it, it does make quite a bit of sense. It gives them the chance to really let the fallout from what Zahir did in the Earth Kingdom gain some momentum, for the pieces to be shuffled around the board a little bit, and for a new status quo for everybody to deal with to really set in. And then, of course, we kick things off, and everything's up in the air again. Now, it's always very risky when any type of story, TV series, book series does this, and I've seen good versions of this and I've seen bad versions of this. I would definitely call this a good version of this. Now, by necessity, most of this episode is really giving over to just a big fat info dump. Let's see where all the players are and get an idea of what's going on with them and what the current situation is. So let's just kind of get right into things. And let's just start talking about the characters, and then we'll talk a little bit about the situation. Let's see, we might as well start with Tenzin and his family, and not a huge amounts going on with them. Rohan has grown up enough. He's a toddler now. He's got hair. Apparently, it looks like just a kind of a necessity of bringing in all these people who are not airbenders into the fold and letting them keep their hair is kind of a way of showing that the air nomad culture has reasserted itself, but it has evolved out of necessity. So the whole head shaving thing when you become an airbending master, like what we saw with Jinora at the end of the last season, that's of course, but that's a tradition. But of course, hair grows back, as we see. If you notice, Jinora, of course, does have her hair back. And of course, the work outfits for the airbenders have changed. They're kind of like I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but there's like a sky surfing suits or whatever that you can see modern skydivers and other daredevil type folks wearing. Well, again, that makes sense for the airbenders. Times have changed. They can't be flying around on a little wooden kite thing anymore. That would just be silly. So that's all very cool. Now, we do get to spend some time with Kai and Opal, and not a lot's changed with Kai. He's just bigger, older, more experienced, and it's confirmed that he and Jinora still have some sort of a relationship going on. But I think Kai is probably at most somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15, so it's probably not anything too serious, at least by adult standards. Now, a little bit more but if you start talking about people who genuinely are adults, albeit young adults, you've got what's going on with Bolin and Opal. And Opal does say that it's really difficult maintaining a long distance relationship. But of course, when they finally do run into each other, it's not all hugs and kisses. They're obviously happy to see each other, but Opal is clearly very unhappy with some of the choices that Bolin has made. And I do like that when Mako kind of refers to his brother, he just sort of mentions that Bolin. Wait, was it Mako? Well, whoever. Basically, he kind of attributes what's going on with Bolin to him simply growing up. And Bolin, is obviously still very much, pretty much at his core, the same guy, but this episode doesn't really say or do anything particularly goofy, and it's safe to assume that he has matured as an adult, which is really only to be expected. And we'll talk a little bit more about the politics about what's going on with he and Opal's disagreement, but we'll save that for a bit later. Since I mentioned, let's go and talk about Mako. And again, he's really not in a hugely different place. He's just more. He's matured and refined himself. Before he was a good cop, but a young and fairly inexperienced one. Here, he's obviously had a lot of seasoning. He and Lynn seem to have a very good and solid relationship. I think it's pretty safe to assume that she's probably been mentoring him fairly. Sorry, I got something in my eye there for a sec. Mentoring him as a police officer, and that he's taken to that really well. And we also see him interacting with Asami again, and it's nice that obviously their bumps in their relationship are well in the past, and it's just, water under the bridge. We're mature adults. That whole stuff from years ago isn't even a factor anymore. Now, Asami has rebuilt her business. She's been a big part of the whole high-speed rail thing. Obviously, her adventures and exploits with Team Avatar have doubtlessly restored Future Industries' reputation. So there is that. And let's see. Not a huge amount to say about Lynn. She does seem to be someone who's a lot more comfortable with forming relationships with people and showing emotion, just given her very casual relationship with Mako. But it doesn't seem like very much has changed for her. And let's see. Well, I think that covers everything that's going on with our established characters in a real degree. Well, except for Korra. And I guess we'll talk about her in a sec. I want to briefly address Kuvira, her fiance. I think they did mention his name. We saw him very briefly last season, but I don't recall what it is, and I'm not really worried about it. So the deal with Kuvira is, last we saw her, she just seemed like a very competent young soldier. Here, she's basically, and let's not put too fine a point on it, she's basically a warlord. Now, doubtlessly, she's working on paper for the Earth Kingdom government in exile, as exemplified by Prince Wu. So her job is kind of to go out there and just sort of stitch the Earth Kingdom back together. And she's very good at what she does, but you can tell that she's a hard case. And you do have to wonder if maybe Bolin probably wouldn't have said something like, if those bandits had told her to go F herself, and they're like, we're not really just going to leave those people there to be killed by a train, are we? But again, it doesn't really come down to that. So we do get to understand that she's a very competent person. She's an incredibly skilled bender, and she knows how to manipulate people to get what she wants. Now, I don't think it's going to come to any great surprise if later on it turns out that those bandits that she's been taking under her wing, she's been using them to sort of, and I really hate to use this term, do false flag operations, simply because that term is mostly the domain of paranoid nutcases on the internet. But basically, sort of engineering these attacks so that she can set herself up as a savior. The Pi attack on Prince Wu, for example, shows that she has a great deal of popular support among the people of the Earth Kingdom, while the political elites of the various other nations are backing Wu. And there are, of course, numerous examples of people just like this throughout history, some good, some bad. I don't think it's going to be anybody huge surprise that Kuvira is going to be the big villain of this season, so I think we know where she's going to fall in there. But that is the interesting contrast, that she might be doing good, but for the wrong reason. She's just basically doing this probably as a setup for her saying, hey, people of the Earth Kingdom, do you really want this, rich dork running your country simply because of who his ancestors are? Or would you rather have somebody running this country who's actually gone out there and fought for you and put their ass on the line themselves, namely moi? Now, I haven't read any spoilers or anything like that, but again, this is just pretty easy to intuit where this story is going to go, which puts everybody in a really weird position. I mean, do you back Kuvira, the warlord, who does have the support of the people, but has been doing underhanded and nasty things in order to make the situation what it is, or do you back Wu, who doesn't seem like necessarily a bad person, just kind of a selfish, arrogant, rich kid, but who, by the proper law of the Earth Kingdom, is the legitimate heir? Opal, as he says, the Earth Queen, was his great aunt. Not sure what else happened to the rest of his family. They might not have made it out of that uprising. He could have just simply been lucky and gotten out alive, or maybe he was overseas when things went down, and he's the sole survivor or something along those lines. Which, if that's the case, does leave the door open for some potential growth for his character. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Now, I don't really think that over the course of the story we're going to see a lot of the members of Team Good Guy trading blows with each other. There's probably going to be some shouting and some arguments, but I think the situation is going to percolate into being very clear pretty darn quickly, and it's going to be up to a case of let's get the band back together and set the world right yet again. And this, of course, leads us to Korra and what's going on with her. And as we see, she's getting her out there getting her butt kicked in earthbending matches. So this would seem to indicate that Korra physically is probably okay, but mentally and spiritually she's in a really bad shape. So she's taken to, and this is just me guessing, kind of said, you know what, I'm going to go out there and wander the earth and try and get myself back to where I need to be. I need to go, and this is something I need to do myself, and I can't do this if my dad and Tenzin are standing over my shoulder. This is my thing, which is totally in keeping with Korra's character. Now, one thing that kind of comes to mind when it comes to the idea of wandering the earth is who else is out there wandering the earth? And as we established last season, one of such person out there doing just that is none other than Toph. Well, if there's anybody who can give Korra whatever kind of kick in the butt that she might need in order to get over what her emotional hang-ups might be, well, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better to deliver, a much-needed kick in the butt than good old Toph. So it really would not surprise me if we did not see her in this coming season. I mean, they wouldn't have even made it a point to mention that she was alive or even kept her alive if they weren't going to do that. And just the idea that we might get to see Toph, Zuko, and Katara again, even as old people, would just be insanely badass. So yeah, that's, I think, something we definitely have to look forward to. And let me see, is there anything else going on this episode that I feel the need to talk about? Nope, guys. This is a really good start to what is sadly going to be. Oh yeah, Korra. She got her statue in what's going to be apparently Republic City Central Park, which is quite cool. Obviously, in the very nice pose that she has at the opening sequence, we get to see the hobo from the first episode again. That was pretty hilarious. And apparently, people of Republic City have made peace with the spirits who live there now. They have areas of the city that are called the Spirit Wilds. With Korra being out of action, it really wouldn't surprise me if Tenzin was the one that stepped in there and kind of figured out a way to, like, okay, let's work something out between the humans and the spirits. I mean, Tenzin at his heart is really a diplomat, and of course he does know quite a bit about the spirit world, so he'd be very well qualified to handle that. But anyway, as I was saying, this is it. Korra's final season, and it's even been said that Brian and Dante are kind of going to be moving on to work on new projects, not really related to Avatar. They've kind of been doing this and the original series, and it's basically taken up like the last 10 years of their lives. So you can't really blame them for wanting to move on. Although I do believe it's been said that they are going to continue to do Avatar comics. And the Avatar comics that have come out, like particularly stories like The Promise and The Search, which take place after the end of Last Airbender and before the start of Korra, and kind of pick off where Aang and the gang left off, are considered canon. I mean, and they really do tell some interesting stories about what happened after the end of the series involving Aang. I mean, it is good stuff, folks. I've read those. So if you wondered, well, hey, what happened to Azula? Well, go and read The Search, and you'll find out what happened to Azula. And yeah. So As I said, guys, this new season is off to a really great start. Sad that this is kind of going to be it for both Korra and, outside of the comics, the Avatar universe. But as as the wise man said, all good things must come to an end. But I have a feeling that Korra is going to give us one last thrilling, kick-ass ride before she goes riding off into the sunset, and I, for one, am looking forward to every single moment of it. Until next time, guys, take care and have a good one.